Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Why QlikView Users Make Better Decisions with Data from Rosslyn Analytics. If you have any questions, please submit them using the question box in the bottom right hand side of your menu. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Nick Baddeley.
Hello everybody, and thank you for joining this Rosslyn Analytics webinar titled Why QlikView Users Make Better Decisions with Better Data from Rosslyn Analytics. My name is Nick Baddeley, and I'm the Sales and Partner Manager here at Rosslyn. I hope you find the content interesting, and just to point out, the technologies I'll be talking about are equally relevant to those of you using QlikView in the traditional on-premise license model, as well as those of you deploying Rosslyn's QlikView in the cloud solution. In fact, these technologies are also relevant for deployments of QlikSense and any other visualization tool. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to Rosslyn Analytics. So Rosslyn, we like to think of ourselves as a data technology company, and we enable enterprises of all sizes to collect, organize, and manage their data and make it accessible and useful. And I think one of the key things about this slide really is the guy on the top row, third from the left, Hugh Cox. Hugh is our Chief Data Officer. It gives you some idea how seriously we take data within our organization and how we view data as a core building block to successful analytics. Rosslyn itself is a public company. We were floated last year in London, and we have offices here in London and in the US, in Denver and Chicago. And with over 100 customers and partners, amongst those, some of the largest organizations in the world. Whoops. So really, what is it about data and the different types of data? Well, there's any number of different types of data, whether it's product data, customer data, finance data, or whatever it might be. The key thing about any analytics and using data within analytics is really about answering questions. And we know, from QlikView's history as well, that their sort of mantra is about answering the next question, and so it is for us. But of course, where we come from is, making sure that when we get the answers to the questions, there is substance and structure behind it, and that we can be sure that when we see the answer on the screen, that the answer is in fact correct. So, questions like, how do I design a product that fills a specific market gap? Well, what is the market gap? How do I ensure my supply chain is efficient? These kind of questions are the kind of questions that our clients and partners are answering all the time with high quality data. But the data itself needs to be clean and enriched and what we call analytics ready, or the answers to these critical business questions will always be in doubt and suspect, and therefore the sort of visualization and the business analysis we do with QlikView will also be suspect and subject to doubt. So the question or the barriers to answering those questions are in fact very non-trivial. They are quite serious. So in our world, we think about a number of aspects of getting to that point where we've got analytics ready data, and starting at the bottom, integration, bringing multiple systems and data sets together from multiple locations and extracting those in a consistent and repeatable way every single time. Next phase, once we've got hold of the data, is the cleansing of that data. So adding in missing data points, deduplication, looking at naming conventions, normalizing names, and making sure that things in the data set are as clean as they can be. And once we've got that clean data set, we can then start to add additional information. So we can start to add data categorization, improving data quality. We can look at third-party data sources, reference databases, and so on and so forth to add even more value. So that when we get to the top of the iceberg, and we visualize data as a bit of an iceberg where 90% of the actual activity and the work goes on below the level of the sea, in getting the data analytics ready. When we get to that iceberg, the peak of the iceberg, the bit you can see, the visualization, the QlikView, we're in really good shape. And so when your clients look at their data, they can have trust and faith that it is actually answering those business questions that they've been asking. And as we see, there are a number of distinctive stages within the process. There's two basic stages that we see, one of which is where we come in, and one of which is where QlikView comes in. So stage one, provisioning data for analytics, getting that analytics-ready data available to the QlikView application. So that's the integration, including extraction and building schemas, through cleansing and enrichment, which is where Rosslyn step in. And then at the next stage, the actual analysis and reporting, visualization, and of course predictive analytics is where QlikView steps into the process. And so this is a symbiotic relationship where delivering analytics-ready data into a QlikView application delivers value to the client at the end. So integration, and when we talk about integration, it's not just about pulling different data sets together. It's about extracting data from its source systems, and Rosslyn as a company have built a number of tools to help us do that. But it's really getting into the depths of an SAP system or an Oracle system, an online system such as Salesforce.com, whatever it might be, pulling that data, but getting it into in a repeatable and consistent way, month after month, week after week, whatever that refresh schedule is getting the data pulled in a consistent and repeatable way, and having the tools to be able to do that. And then once you've got the data and brought it in through a process which is suited to the client's needs, whether it's just simple drag and dropping of files, or whether it's some other web data load or FTP or whatever it might be, getting it into a platform and then building a schema, and having a schema builder within the platform that enables you to build the dimensions, tag the dimensions, and create a schema from those multiple data sets, and being able to do that on the fly as you go along. Once you've got that integrated data set, the next part of the journey really is about cleansing. And we see this as an automated task or a semi-automated task, and using a rules-based engine, so that once you've created a rule about how the data is cleansed, and the same goes for the integration and extraction, once you've created a way of doing something, make it repeatable, make it repetitive, make it consistent, and make it so you don't have to keep reinventing the rules all the time. And so having a rules-based engine that will enable you to create the rules, run the rules every time the data is refreshed is critical to the process. And then, of course, the ability to add new data as you go along. And this is a continuous process where the interaction with the data by both the users and the developers of QlikView and the deliverers of that service really is a way of collaborating and working together that builds higher data quality as time goes by. Once you've got the clean data, then the next thing is to start to add information to it. This enrichment phase cannot happen until the actual data is clean. I mean, if you've got poor quality data, you can't enrich it. It's impossible because you don't know where you're starting from. And so basically having the ability to cleanse data, get it normalized in a repeatable and consistent way, and then being able to add additional data points that weren't there in the source data is really starting to help answer those business questions that we had right at the start. And I guess the sort of fundamental question is what value could we really uncover from all this? And it's being able to add more information, like classifying data into different taxonomies or groups, parent-child relationships between suppliers or clients, and understanding that overall picture, adding in things like credit scores, political information, geopolitical information, understanding about, okay, there's potentially issues in one country in the world. What's the impact on my data? How does that impact the questions that I'm asking of that data? And then there's things like ethical information, carbon scores, conflict diamonds, and regulatory information as well. And so really, the process is a non-stop process from the extraction, integration, cleansing and enrichment to get to the point, and you can see here some QlikView dashboards, where those dashboards are actually telling the truth. And it doesn't matter how good the dashboards are, if the data going into them is of poor quality, then they're never going to tell the truth. And of course, as we all know, QlikView is a great tool for analyzing and reporting and this business discovery and visualization, and of course, the ability for clients and users to have a series of pre-built applications that tell them and help them understand the data they're looking at. But fundamentally, the key building block to QlikView is the data that lives behind it. And as much as you might have some really nice visualizations, if the data is poor, the results are poor. So just what is this technology that enables Rosslyn and our partners and our clients to get this cleansed and enriched data? Well, it's a cloud technology called Rapid, and it's designed and built by us to simplify some of these really complex data challenges of getting the data into an analytics-ready state. We like to see the process or the tools and so on and so forth as a data refinery. It's a bit like an oil refinery. So turning raw data into information. And so if you look on the left-hand side of the slide, you will see our big data, our data sources being pulled out of the ground, as it were, or pulled out of the ERP systems or finance systems or whatever it might be, extracted and put into this refinery that integrates, cleanses and enriches. But the key thing about that is not just that we've got a machine that can help do this, but there is a feedback loop going back into the machine which takes in the views and knowledge of the people within the client's organization. Now, in many organizations, you'll find that, and if you're working with companies that have some very skilled people who have an enormous amount of knowledge in their heads about how the business runs and how the business works, and they don't really need to, they don't believe they need to provide that information to the company. They know how to do it and they know what to do. And then, of course, that knowledge is lost to the business should those people leave. What we do with our system is capture that knowledge of the people. We call it a thing called human-driven machine learning. So we're using our machine and the knowledge of the people to get us to the point where we've got analytics-ready data. Okay, and so whether we're pulling in data sources from private sources like SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, or whatever it might be, whether we're pulling in proprietary data, Excel spreadsheets from somebody's desk, whether we're adding to it premium data such as Dun & Bradstreet or Equifax, Pitney Bowes, and bringing in public data like Twitter feeds or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever it might be. And then we're bringing in the knowledge of the people within the organization to do that machine-driven, human-driven machine learning. And what we end up with is data that is suitable and designed and prepared for each individual part of the organization, because it contains the knowledge of those parts of the organization as well. Here's a quote that I particularly like. It's by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He wrote Sherlock Holmes, and his phrase is, "I never guess. It's a mistake to theorize before one has data. One begins to twist the facts to suit the theories, instead of the theories to suit facts." What this means is, unless you've got data, you start to change the facts around it to suit your own personal theory or your own personal view. Once you actually, if you switch that around and then you get the data, then you can change your theories to suit the facts that you see within the good quality data. And so that's really a fundamental point of what we do here at Rosslyn, is never guess, build the data to suit the theory, not to suit the facts. Okay, so what is this? What does this platform look like? Well, it's a number of elements, and it's built with you know, a range of data sources available and capable of being used within the platform. Within the actual infrastructure behind the scenes, you know, we don't really get wound up about whether it's Hadoop or MongoDB or SQL Server. We have them all, and we use the most appropriate you know, system to what we need to do. We have our human-driven machine learning functionality and the machines behind that. So we've got the transformation services, integration and cleansing, the machine-driven, the algorithm-driven stuff. Then we've got the human-driven machine learning, and then we've got the reporting and analytics. That's the QlikView side on the top. And that, of course, being in the cloud, makes it available to anybody, anywhere, on any device. Bringing in on the right-hand side the third-party data from Dun & Bradstreet and the like, to really give some detail and level of enhancement to the data that wasn't there before. So who do we work with? These are the kind of organizations we work with, you know, some of the large corporations in the world, and we work with a number of partners around the place, some QlikView partners, but also some business process partners, like you know, who use our tools to enable them to deliver their services. So I didn't want to spend too long just looking at slides. What I really wanted to do was to go and have a look at the demonstration of the actual tools itself, the tool itself. And so what we've got is we're going to take a look at a thing called company enrichment. This is how do we take data from a raw, poor quality state and create a record, a data record of clean and enriched data. Now I'm going to log into the platform. As I say, although it's a cloud-based tool, it's available to use with on-premise and in fact any other system you know, that you need to get clean data into. So let me just log in. It is a live demo. Okay, so here's some of our integration, cleansing, and enrichment tools. The one I'm going to focus on today is called company enrichment. So let me just move that out of the way. Okay, so here's a set of dummy data, and on this screen you can see some names and addresses of organizations. You can see some color coding of the enrichment status. So we've got a number of different enrichment statuses. So you can have an automatic match, something that is so accurate from the original and compares so well with the reference data, which in this case is Dun & Bradstreet, but it compares so well with the reference data that no further work is needed. It's an automatic match. Then you've got the view of good matches, where it's very close, but it's not close enough to really guarantee, because, of course, guaranteeing the data quality is absolutely critical to this. Without guaranteed data quality, it's a pointless exercise. So, you know, we set the threshold very high to get an automatic match, and so you know, you'll see quite a lot of these. The good match, they're near but not quite near enough. There's a candidate match, which is the yellow blobs you can see here. Candidate says, I've got a number of records that might match this one, but I don't know which one it is. And that's where our human-driven machine learning comes in to say, I know which, you know, the user can say, I know which one it is, and confirm that and transfer that knowledge from their own brain and their own head into the tool. And finally, of course, there's the no match found, the red ones. We couldn't find anything like that. But even then, the tool doesn't leave you stranded. Okay. So what I can do is start by taking a look at, let's take a look at an auto-confirmed view. So I can choose what I want to see. What I also want to see is some of the enrichment fields. So not only do we cleanse the data at this point, we're starting to enrich it with additional information. So here's my my automatic matches. Let's take a look at this top one, Amsterdam BV. The original address in the data set was this, De Boulan 7 Amsterdam. Cleansed address is the same. And what I can do is drill down into each one of these and take a look. So here's the original address. There's not a lot of data there, in actual fact. You know, it's just it's a good address. There's nothing wrong with it. But when we cleanse that, what we end up with is a formatted address and a structured address, separating out all the detail. And of course, down at the bottom here, what we've got is the latitude and longitude for that address. Now, the key thing about having a latitude and longitude, it really helps us if we're doing geoanalytics, because what we can do is now plot it on a map and put a pin on a map, you know, very accurately for that particular place, that particular location. We're no longer relying on additional on postcodes or whatever. We've now got a point on the map that represents that particular organization. What we've also got, because we've got a good and excellent match, is that we've got a lot more information about them. So we've got a global ultimate owner and a domestic business name. We've got their company number. We've got their line of business. We've got their SIC code, an activity code, whether they are a single location or whether they are a branch of another organization, their legal status, number of employees, revenues, and so on. And that is where we can start to bring in additional data points, such as you know, credit score, for example. Maybe we're interested in seeing that. But until we've got that cleansed name, normalized name, and address, then we can't actually find any of that information out. So, you know, this is a sort of, you know, a two-step process strung together into a single step. Okay, so that's a look at a good match. It's an exact match. There's no problem there. The machine found it straight away. What we can take a look at is what is a good match where the machine doesn't really, you know, it's not quite good enough. And when we set the bar very high, and what we can look at is, let's take a look at this one, AmCam Inc. And so I've got Rod Smith Place and Cranford, and look at the cleansed address. And the issue the machine had here was that it says, okay, your original address is Rod Smith PL, but the cleansed address is Rod Smith Place. It's saying, we know it's right, but you need to say that's right, because there could be something quite peculiar about it. And so what it's doing is saying, okay, I've got that, I've got the latitude and longitude, I can pin that on a map, not a problem, that's somewhere in, where's that, New Jersey. We can scroll out and yeah, that looks like New Jersey to me. And so what we can say is, okay, that is exactly the one, and I've got my usual enrichment, but all I need to do is select that one and assign it. And when I assign it, what I'm doing is I'm confirming to the system that this data is 100% correct in the cleansed form that I saw. Okay. So what happens if I've got multiple matches? There's lots of candidates. Let's take a look at what those look like and how do they work. Okay, so here are my candidate matches. Let's take a look down here. We've got quite a lot of these because, of course, you know, there's potential for, you know, quite a lot of work here. And so let's take a look at this one here, Stantec Inc. And yeah, I've got an address. It's in Canada. Of course, I can cleanse my address and get it in good shape. Look at the candidates, and what you'll see here is that the company that I had in my core data, in my raw data, was Stantec Inc. But what it's saying is there are a lot of other Stantec companies at that particular address. Are we sure we want Stantec Inc.? Okay. Now, what the system does is clever enough to say, okay, the one at the top of the, it'll give you the one at the top of the list, which is it's the most likely candidate, and in this case it is the most likely candidate, but what it's giving you is the opportunity to say, actually, there's a bit of an error here, and it was actually Stantec Architecture Limited, and I need to select that one, and therefore that will switch from being Stantec Inc. in that record to Stantec Architecture Limited. So really it's about, you know, this human-driven machine learning, which says, okay, once I'm happy with that, Now I can confirm, assign that, and I'm done. What about that sort of worst case scenario where actually there is no match at all? What happens then? Well, I can take a look at those. And what it's saying is that I found nothing that looks anything like these. Please help me. And so what you can do is, let's take a look at this second one down, Azeo, and it said I've got a company called Azeo. It's in this particular location in France. It knows that location actually exists, but it doesn't know much about it because it's not really matching up properly. So it's saying, yes, I know there's a city or town called Alizé, but it doesn't help me much. And so what we can do is look at candidates, and it says I actually can't find anything that matches what you've put in. But even then, I'm not lost, because what I can say is, okay, maybe it's the wrong street in the wrong town. Let's get rid of all that. But I do know there's a company called Azeo, and it's in France. What can the system do to help me? And it's now pulled up a whole raft of opportunities for me to select one for a company called Azeo in France. And I can say, oh yeah, it was completely the wrong address for that particular company. Somebody had typed in the wrong address into the raw data. I want to go with this one, and I can assign that. And that what will happen then is that piece of data will now be corrected in the system. Okay, so that's really what the system does. This is one of our tools that enables us to cleanse and enrich data in one hit. And so, what we're doing is we're getting to that point where cleansed, enriched data can be incorporated into your QlikView application. And whether it's a list of clients, a list of suppliers, a list of employee, different companies, or whatever it might be, we've got a tool, and these are the kind of tools and these are the kind of technologies that when you're running with QlikView, these are the kind of things you need to bring into play. Okay, so really that's what I wanted to show today, and give you some flavor of what QlikView can, applications can benefit, how they can benefit from having high quality, enriched, cleansed, and analytics ready data. Behind the scenes, what you'll have seen when we came in are a whole range of different applications, so on and so forth, which will help us to extract data, to integrate data, to cleanse and enrich in different ways, categorize, and so on and so forth. And these are all available, whether you're using the on-premise version of QlikView, whether you're working with our cloud version of QlikView, whether you're working with QlikSense, doesn't matter. And even if you're working with something like Tableau or others, it doesn't really matter, because what you're doing is you're cleansing the data ready for analytics, not doing the analytics itself. That's QlikView's job. Okay, so hopefully that was useful. And if there's any questions, we can take a look at them.
Yep, we've got a number of questions that have come in. First off, the first question we have: how do I get the data out of the Rapid platform?
Yes. So, well, you just export it. There's an export button available, and what the export button will do, it will export it as a simple CSV file, and it will enable you to export not only the original data, but of course the enriched data, and enable you to import that directly into your QlikView if you wish.
And that's any kind of data sources that we can use?
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't care where the data comes from, particularly. Well, we care, but it's not important. It's basically exporting it out as a CSV file for ease of use and ease of and simplicity of getting it into a QlikView.
Brilliant. Keep those questions coming in, everyone. Next up, we've got, and I imagine this is going to be a key question for a lot of people: how secure is my data?
Well, I would say it's very secure. We have a number of data centers here in Europe and in the States, neither of which are connected to we don't connect US to Europe, Europe to US. So if you've got European data, then we can be sure that your data will stay in the European Union. If you've got US data, then we can be sure that your data will stay in the US. Then, of course, in terms of actual data management and data handling, we're accredited to ISO 27001 and ISO 9001 in terms of our processes. And then, of course, you look at the clients we have on board with our platform, you know, some very big names there. Of course, you know, we welcome the opportunity, or we welcome clients coming in and partners to test and really try to sort of see if they can find anything amiss with our platform. Nobody's ever done it yet, I don't think, that's of any real, you know, note. You know, so we welcome people to come and test us for security. But it's not only security, there's also a resilience factor here as well. And we've recently increased our resilience on the platform as well, which I think is quite critical to the whole thing.
And I know security is something that's key for a lot of people, so if you have any specific questions that you might not want to raise here on the webinar today, please do get in contact with us directly. Our contact details will be available at the end of the presentation. So next up, we have, how up to date is the reference data? Well,
yeah, reference data. So what I showed you there was Dun & Bradstreet. Okay, so I was using Dun & Bradstreet as the reference data there. Now, of course, we can import any kind of reference data set. You know, it's a simple matter of commercial arrangement. The Rapid platform can handle, you know, virtually any kind of data reference, and that's not the problem. But how up to date is it? Well, with D&B, we are a partner of D&B, and so we host their entire data set on the platform. We get an update every few weeks. And so, you know, as they update their data, then we get the benefits of that. So, but of course, you know, hosting it on the Rapid platform, you know, means we don't have to keep going out to them. We've got all that data in-house, ready to use immediately.
All right, brilliant. And we've just got time for one final question. And I think this is something you touched on, obviously, earlier in the presentation. Just why is a data-driven approach so important?
Well, I mean, I think it's the Arthur Conan Doyle statement, which I think is absolutely you know, critical. I do not guess, he says. You know, there's no point in guessing. There's no point in trying to make it up. I do not guess, and I want the data I want the facts to tell me what the theory needs to be, not the theory telling me what the facts need to be. And so it's really about, you know, making sure that when we are looking at answering those business questions we had right at the start, what are those business questions, that when we get the answers to them, we can have trust and faith in what the answers are, rather than you know, a pure guess or a gut instinct or you know, I think it might be. You know, really it's about getting faith and trust in the data, which means that we get faith and trust in what the dashboard is telling us, and therefore we can make sensible and important business decisions based purely on the data rather than on you know, speculation or gut feel.
All right, that's brilliant. That's a wrap for today. If anyone has any other questions that they would like to ask us, please contact marketing@roslynanalytics.com, and we will come back to you and be happy to sort of pick and answer any questions you have offline. The recording will be made available on demand as well, and we will send you a link as soon as that's ready. Thank you very much for your time today, Nick, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks everybody, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.